So Kotaku confirms that Netflix is now dead on Nintendo. So yeah, here we are over here at Kotaku as always. Section below, there'll be the article. You can check it out yourself. But basically, we're just going to read this top line here. You can read the rest if you want. On June 30th, Nintendo quietly pulled the plug on the Wii U and the 3DS Netflix apps. Not only does this mean that anybody still using these older consoles to watch Netflix are now screwed, but also officially that it means that in the year 2021, there is no way to watch Netflix on a Nintendo device. So, I mean, like, sad day, right? Sad day? But is it? I mean, is it really? Okay, first off, and I know this is a thing, and I know that you could do it, but like the 3DS? Why? Like, and I do know that it was a thing. I know that you could, just why? But I mean, I guess, I don't know. There are some devices that, for me, the whole Netflix thing just does not matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. You could stream Netflix on your phone. That's probably more reasonable nowadays. And you could stream it on a laptop. You could stream it on your computer. You have your PlayStation. You have your Xbox. Did we really need it on, like, the Switch? Does it matter that it's not on Nintendo? Maybe. Maybe a little bit. I mean, people have their console of choice, and if you're a Nintendo person and you're not the kind of person that's interested in going any other direction, then maybe you're not going to, say, Xbox, so you're not going to watch it that way, and you're not going to the Sony, you're not going to PlayStation, so, you know, there you go, you're not watching it that way. If Nintendo was your go-to, then you really don't have a way to watch Netflix, except for if you're going to watch it on a tablet, or on your phone, or on your laptop, or on your, computer, or almost any number of other devices that play it. Like, there's something to be said about the way consoles have changed. Because you couldn't, this wouldn't even be a concern. I guess. Yeah. Like, thinking all the way back to, like, PlayStation 2, that era, it was after PlayStation 2 that things started changing. The Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 really changed gaming as we know it. These consoles became multimedia machines. And while there's something good about that, I can't help but realize that, like, my PlayStation 4, as well as my PlayStation 3 for quite a long time, was nothing more than a streaming device. In fact, right now, my PlayStation 4, without the group actually playing games, it just kind of sits there, and I focus mainly on my PC for myself, so I stream everything through the PlayStation 4. It's literally a frickin' media box. But if something ever happened to it, I would literally just load all the same apps onto my laptop, and I just watch it that way. And if worse came to worse, I have a tablet, and if really worse came to worse, there's always the phone. But it is a different world now. And it is something to say that Nintendo won't have it. even if I don't necessarily think that it means that much. I don't know. It's crazy. When I seen the article, I really got to thinking about it because, like, I started years ago with an Intellivision on a black and white TV with some knobs on it. That was what my dad set up in my room. I remember years ago, and I had that stupid Snake game. And then I started playing Nintendo. My dad had an NES, and then shortly after that, I ended up playing a lot of NES over at my neighbor's house. And then it just kind of went from there, man. I grew up with video games, and I grew up with dedicated consoles. Consoles were dedicated to one idea, playing games. The reason you had a Game Boy was to play games. The reason you had a Game Gear was to play games. Sega Genesis, play games. SNES, play games. PlayStation, play games. PS2, play games. Xbox, play games. And it really was that PlayStation 3 era that once these things became multimedia machines, it's really changed. It really is so different. And sometimes if you don't stop to look back and you don't stop to think about it, you just kind of take for granted where you are and what all you can do and what all your console's capable of. And they really are capable of so much now. Like just the PlayStation 4. And the reason I'm not going to talk about the PlayStation 5 is because, one, I don't have one, and two, they're really hard to get right now, so PlayStation 4 covers my idea a lot better when I bring something like this up. But you don't even stop to think about it. And yes, to be fair, yes, Xbox falls into the category as well. I just happen to, this generation, I had the Xbox and the 360, but I did not buy the third Xbox at all. I just didn't. That's not liking one over the other, to be fair. It really came down to the amount of money and the opportunity that presented itself. The opportunity that presented itself was the PlayStation 4. I bought that, and at the time, that was really all I had the money for. But, that being said, playing the PlayStation 4, you never really stopped to think about what all you did with it. But, like, I watched Netflix with it. It is the primary system that I use for all of my streaming. I use a lot of YouTube with it. It can do it, but I never really do it unless, I gotta say, I have used the web browser quite a bit because I was watching a lot of the CW shows on the web browser for a long time. So that's another feature that it has. And then going from there, there's all this community stuff that's been backed into it now. Like, there is Facebook for something like that because you can use the browser. You can very much use your Facebook and whatnot. And since you can hook up a keyboard to the PlayStation 4, like, all of that is legitimately possible. And then there's other parts to it too that catch my attention, like, not just that you can do things like that, but, like, there's a social network that's actually built into the PlayStation 4 where it tried to create its own type of Facebook group pages type of thing that you could do. And we did use it for a while. We had, like, one that was for Fandom Night, and we even had a hangout group where it was, like, me and, like, every friend that I knew that had the PlayStation that we could possibly play games with. We'd post in there and, like, share what we were doing, what games we were playing and stuff like that. It's so different. It really is so different. And it's one of those things that the consoles need to be able to compete with each other. So to say that I don't really care that there's no Netflix on the PlayStation or blah, 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 that there's not one going to be on the Switch and Nintendo technically doesn't have a way to Netflix, I personally don't care. Because I have other systems that could do it. And I primarily use my Nintendo almost as a fallback point to the past. My Nintendo is very much a dedicated gaming system. That's what it is. And I don't care to put anything else on it. My daughter watches YouTube with it all the time. I will not even install YouTube because I could watch YouTube on my phone or anything else, and it does not interest me in the least to do anything like that on my Nintendo, but it is something that a big group of people are now missing out on because they're not going to have this opportunity. It is wild to me that this just kind of happened. Nintendo is now excluded from that market, and it is a strange market share. You could very much say that if that is your multimedia device, it's how you play games and it's how you stream and it's how you communicate and whatnot. Yeah. You are left out. If you are Nintendo, hardcore Nintendo, you are now left out of that game. But doesn't matter. To me, no. To other people, maybe. It's an interesting question. It's interesting to know how this affects one person to the next, because like I said, when I'm sitting here thinking about it, I am coming up with reasons that it is strange that Nintendo would not have a single system on the market currently that would allow you to stream Netflix. It really is such a big thing, and nowadays, streaming television is pretty much the basic of how that's working. Television is dying. It's dying a slow and painful death. And nothing is saving it. And Netflix is that wave of the future. Not just Netflix, but streaming in general. That's the wave of the future. That's where it all is. And Nintendo can't participate. I don't know. I kind of ran myself in a circle. I came in here expecting to very much say, who gives a shit? But now that I'm sitting here, I guess this does kind of suck. It's kind of crazy. It kind of does shit on a big portion of gamers. And I guess it is a cool idea that if you had the Switch, you could have taken Netflix with you wherever you went. Of course, you would have had to have a Wi-Fi connection at any time to use it. And if you're sitting at the wrong place, your Wi-Fi connection isn't really that good anyway, so you couldn't have got much out of it, and it only lasts about 3 hours. And I'm sure if you were streaming Netflix, it's probably only like an hour and a half or 2 hours for the system. And so at that point, what does it even matter? I don't know. I'm seeing good and bad here. This is one that's running me in circles now that I think about it. I really meant to just come in here and say, who gives a fuck? But maybe you should. I don't know. This is kind of crazy news. What do you think? I don't know. Like I said, I ran myself in circles on this one. If you have something to say about it, or you just want to check out the article in general, you want to kind of ponder it with me and go, man, it is kind of wild. Nintendo doesn't have a single streaming system right now in a world where every gaming console is a multimedia machine. It kind of feels like Nintendo, again, is behind the times. Or maybe it doesn't matter. Nintendo was built for gaming. Game on it. I don't know. Wild. I just didn't expect to run in circles over this topic, and now that I am, I guess I'll leave it to you. Later on.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.